Hey folks, this is Ben Gessel. How's it going? Right now it is just a little bit north of 70 degrees. Sorry, one second here. Just a little north of 70 degrees. And sorry, we got some people that are, I don't know, kind of doing their car thing right now. I'm not really sure what's going on. Anyway, I wanted to make a little video. I didn't get out of the house a little bit because it's so nice out here. And I do mean it's nice. I have been waiting for this weather at least for a week or so. Maybe not quite a week. I imagine right now, because it's so nice out, I imagine that probably gonna be running into a lot of people out and about. That's okay. That's all good. Well, anyway. So, I should mention, in passing, maybe not quite in passing, but at least talk about this a little bit. I have quite a few music students that they're starting up. Quite a few new ones. I mean, I'm looking at already 30 plus music students. We've just been pouring in, and we keep pouring in, I think, next few weeks. So I'm feeling great in that arena. It feels really good to have more students. It's been a long time since there was a time when I only had barely 20 after having 30 plus for quite some time. Lost a third of my students. Most of them forever. A few of them temporarily. It just varied from student to student who wasn't taking lessons anymore, but now I'm basically out. For me, personally speaking, I feel like I'm basically out of the tunnel. I feel like even though you have to put a mask on, by the way, see, people down there, that's alright, it's all good. Just knew we'd be having a lot of people out and about. So even though you have to put your masks on when you're in restaurants and stuff, still, in stores and other places like that, any business, or almost any place, even if you have your shots or not, it's not going to be all that long still to have to do that. And that's really the only thing left. And there's a few other things. Large gatherings, right? Large gatherings and having that mask on in public places and stuff like that. Or any kind of place of business and stuff. In schools or whatever, hospitals. I don't know. So anyway, I had a good day. It was a good day. Maybe a few other thoughts, perhaps, maybe, I don't know. Maybe. It's really important for me, and because it's important for me, I would think it's probably important for you guys as well. Even this is kind of a non-COVID such a subject. This goes way outside of that. It's important. Actually, it's vital for one's happiness, I think, to not rely on certain kinds of opinions of certain kinds of people, of what they say about you or to you regarding what you actually think of yourself. And the more that you're not getting a whole lot of feedback from other people that know you well or have their heads screwed on right. I don't know what's going on with all these people, by the way, that just kind of charge through. Anyway, just walking. Anyway, the more that you the less that you are interacting with a lot of people that know you well and have good character, the harder it can be sometimes to kind of keep your head where it should be, kind of reaffirm who you really are. I mean, there are people that will go for years and years without talking to hardly anybody. How do they function? How are they happy? Well, it's not so great to be so distant from everybody, sure. At the same time, they're not going to have to deal with all the riffraff as much either. These people are probably also not watching YouTube. You probably don't even know they exist. So I mean, we're talking about a true hermit here. A true hermit. They do exist. Now, they do interact with people here and there, perhaps, but they're not weirdos. They're people that just are very, very distant from everybody else for whatever reason. And if I've learned that, again, they tend to function well because they are very much at peace with themselves. Some. If a hermit is less at peace with themselves, then, or with the world, they're more upset with the world. I don't know. It's just, if things aren't so great inside someone's soul for whatever reason, or they have a lot of hurt, it's not always a bad thing, but it's just, we're talking about maintaining happiness and a good sense of who you are, and a kind of let's go do something today, let's go accomplish stuff, which usually at some point leads to more social interaction, but not always, but usually that's the case. But you see, well, anyway, COVID-19 forced everybody to be a little bit more isolated on some level. I don't care what. Nothing and absolutely nothing is stopping me from being more social than I have been in the past. That's for darn sure. Any feasible avenue I have to meet great people, women, men, dating, whatever, I'm gonna pursue. I don't care. I just don't care. And by the way, there's a lot of things. There's some things along the way, last several years, maybe I don't care anymore about certain things, not just certain attitudes in my church, which I've talked about before a little bit. It's a cultural thing. I don't care about making the best first impression to a girl, to a woman. I don't care about that anymore, in a way. Because, if you're going to marry somebody, then why not show him if you're a woman, why not show them who you really are instead of someone else? If you guys follow my drift. I'm usually very excited if I want to meet somebody. A lot of times, again, things have gone south, and I understand the world's a complex place, and so many tangents at this point, but it's like, no. The date went well, it went well. If the date didn't go well, it's probably not my fault. It's probably not my fault unless I did something actually wrong. With cultures involving a lot of right and wrong, or even religions that we talk a lot about right and wrong, people sometimes get very obsessed in a way with every single behavior that's possibly imaginable, or every single human behavior is being either right or wrong. When I say obsessed, I think what I mean is it's some people would say it's an unhealthy pursuit of everything being right or wrong in this arena. Because okay, backing up here a little bit, it's just, hey, and you guys know this as well as I do. I'm definitely not talking about my church. I'm talking about, I think, Christianity in general, especially conservative Christianity. But it's just, well, actually, to tell you the truth, it's actually more of a local thing. It's more of a cultural, local kind of thing. But obsession with correct behavior, what's considered correct, because correct behavior varies from culture to culture. This is actually an anthropology kind of thing, rather than just it's all the additional unwritten rules, right? There's social rules that exist outside of religion and culture that kind of just business stuff. Different occupations have their own cultures and stuff. It's like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And if you don't get it, I guess you don't get the job, or you don't network as well. It's so retarded and stupid, and so many people seem to think it's so important. It's not. On some level, I guess if it matters to certain people, I guess it matters, but to a lot of people it doesn't. With time, I think you're going to find less and less of this importance of having the the right way of speaking. I don't know. Kind of. Younger generations tend to think a tad bit differently than older ones, so to speak. But different subject here. Getting back to this obsession of morality, or obsession of behaviors, with certain behaviors as being approved of or not. Yeah, I am really, really stinking familiar with this subject. Believe you me. If there's one thing that isn't being talked about enough, discussed enough, online, whatever, or wherever, it's this obsession with supposedly correct behavior, socially. I can't tell you how common I believe it to be for someone to have incorrect or less approved of behavior socially, some way, shape, or form, and they're treated as though they committed some grievous act, some sinful act by others, shunned, they're considered less attractive. It's complex, folks, and sometimes, this attractiveness thing is such a tough thing for so many folks, and if it's supposedly not tough, then honestly I think well, there's a lot of maturing that a lot of people have to do anyway. We'll just put it that way. I think that they have everything squared away in life. Well, okay, so I'll just say it as I see it, man. Meeting new people in the future. If someone thinks some behavior I have is great, pretty good, not sure, not so good, if it's anyone idiot, because I know I'm not evil, but if somebody thinks some petty little pet peeve is some big grievous sin, no. Have a distorted view of the world and of people, and no. But I kind of want to spend a bit more time with people that not only have their heads screwed on right, but they tend to kind of like what I like, admire what I admire. We're both a little bit odd in our ways. We love the fact that we're all a little bit odd, both a little odd. And by saying I'm a little odd, I'm not necessarily going overboard with we'll say the Western Washington liberal ideas of what is odd. Because actually, when it comes to that stuff, when it comes to Western Washington liberals, there is no such thing as odd. they'll supposedly accept any kind of behavior as just being different, but not disagreeable. Seattle. They'll say that and they'll act like it, but a lot of folks won't really. Okay, yeah, that whole thing. Washingtonians, how I sometimes despise them. I know them better than anyone else. I know them better than Utahns. Why do I despise Washingtonians? I don't despise Washingtonians. I despise liberal hypocrisy. But it depends on the person, because some people actually aren't hypocrites that are more liberal, or more the left-leaning, or whatever, the Democrats. Or whatever. Oh, there's a difference, Ben. I get it. Believe me, this is a subject I know better than so many folks. Really don't want to talk about that right now, but it's very much a Washington thing. Okay, getting back to my earlier train of thought about this. Because there are things that are less approved of socially. And how did this all start? From culture to culture, business, occupation to occupation. Every rule had its beginning somewhere. And as you could probably guess, all these things, all these do's and don'ts, they basically originated from humans. They didn't come from God. The only things that we believe came from God, and that was only some of us believe this, really. Because I know that you have the George Carlins out there that don't really think that, well, but Ten Commandments, it's pretty safe to say they came from God. But whatever. So get more people out and about. That's right. I would love to show you all their pretty faces, but, well, that's how things go on YouTube. So, unless you get permission from them and all that jazz. So, by the way, on this note, I can't help but, think about this recent message from YouTube that my channel was taken down, then 3 days later it's put back up again. Just to help you guys feel better about all this weird nonsense whenever you hear about this stuff. Imagine being the person that checks the bot to see if the bot got it right. What a thankless job. Everybody wants to call you and harass you. YouTube people that actually look at actual content on channels. One of the worst jobs you can possibly think of. In a way. Imagine, I think a lot of videos are probably just fine. But it's probably all the comments too. Oh my gosh. If the average video on YouTube, if we're looking at the way that our church sees all things spiritual, by the celestial, terrestrial, telestial, and outer darkness, realms of righteousness, I would imagine the average video on YouTube is probably somewhere in the terrestrial range of righteousness, so to speak. As in, pretty middle of the road, pretty acceptable, nothing too crazy, bad, nothing. Well, not always a whole lot that's super amazingly good, but wholesome, dumb, stinking word that is being way overused right now. But it was supposed to mean something that was actually wholesome, and then it became this word to just use describe a whole bunch of stuff. Okay. But YouTube comments are probably more telestial. You guys notice the difference, by the way? This is why so many people would rather see videos than read comments. One of the reasons why I finally started making my own videos. Too, because I'm like, Well, let's make things a little bit better on YouTube, shall we? Even at my darkest, most depressed videos and times, I'm still nowhere remotely close to some of the most degrading kinds of things on YouTube. And by degrading, I do mean, well, we won't. I'm just gonna mention this. This is a little bit more tasteful thing to mention, by the way. There was this guy who filmed someone getting mugged in Philadelphia. He didn't do anything about it. He just filmed it. And of course, the guy getting mugged was completely out of his gourd on drugs. Well, of course he was. It was a very easy theft. The guy just came up to him and just pocketed his money. Just took his cash, whatever else was valuable. But the guy filming it didn't do a thing. And there was some discussion about the ethics of that sort of thing. Well, maybe the guy's armed. Shouldn't get involved. I'm just filming it. Well, there's a lot of videos like this. There's videos where you see people not only getting mugged, but you see people with videos with fights going on where they get. It's not okay. There's all the attendant. Is that right? Is it wrong? And so on and so forth. There's so many. It's not always clear what's appropriate, acceptable behavior in this regard. But believe you me, if you can prevent somebody from getting mugged, well, I think you should probably do that. If the guy's armed or has a knife, bring a weapon with you. Wouldn't you rather have somebody stick up for you and protect you if you're about to get mugged? Especially if you're potentially losing tons of money, hundreds of dollars, thousands of dollars, in fact. Your credit card. Wouldn't you rather have somebody stick up for you in that regard? That's why there's some discussion about this. And this is just somebody mugged. This is still kind of small potatoes. I imagine that the guy, well, small potatoes in a way. I don't even know how much money that guy actually had on, like for real. I mean, his bank account. I have no idea. But I imagine that whatever money he had on him, because he's on drugs, probably wasn't a heck of a lot. It's probably everything. It was a lot. I mean, it was like his survival money, or at least it was his money he was going to use to buy more drugs. So that whole thing. I don't know. I just know that it's wrong to steal, and if it's wrong to steal, it's especially wrong to steal from somebody who can't even defend himself. Good heavens. But yeah. Maybe go a different train of thought here for a bit. These birds are making quite a ruckus here. No, it feels great, by the way, compared to what the video. We Washingtonians are not used to 110 degree temperatures with new air conditioning. It was brutal. You guys, other parts of the nation, can make fun of us all you want to. Make fun of the British Columbians, whatever. But it was hard. It was hot. And we were very happy that it's basically over and done with. We just don't know what's going to happen necessarily later on in July or August. But I think it's highly likely that we'll see that same temperature range come back. What else can I mention here in this video? Well, the question is often, how much do we personally put stock in things that are not really of a strictly moral nature, but things that are more of a cultural or societal nature or occupational nature in terms of how acceptable and unacceptable any behavior is? How much stock do we put in that stuff? So in an office, if you had some guy's daughter come in to work to the office, and the guy's daughter was just so happy to see him and gave her a hug and stuff. I mean, is that considered unprofessional? And then she wants a lollipop from the lady that answers the phone, secretary. And I mean, I understand why some businesses don't let kids in like that, because but is it a moral issue? Well, it's a company issue. It's a company policy. It's a where did that company policy come from? Hey, look, again, so many things are just invented by humanity, but they're invented by humanity for good reasons. Most of the time, good reasons. A lot of the time, good reasons. Sometimes, not so good reasons. Well, if you don't like our policies, you can just have a different job. That's often the way that people in charge would respond to some kind of criticism of any policy. How is that? It's never. No. It does not equate with excellence in any area of humanity, of life. The people in charge do not understand everything. They can't. Like, for instance, in the musical realm, I was talking to one of my students recently about how his marching band rehearsals were so rigorous and tough, and he was tired when he had to be really precise about when he came in. I was trying to explain to this young man, I've had so many times. I mean, basically, it's any time you perform when you get to a certain skill level, really, really. But in college, there was no mercy. If there was mercy in high school, there was no more mercy in college. I found that no mercy music performance kind of thing in Youth Symphony, by the way, for the first time. That was pretty brutal. But in high school, there was a lot of mercy, at least in my high school. In college, there wasn't. Not so much. And he's just getting a taste of it at a younger age, which is great. Anyway, but it's that hardcore, more professional level way of conducting an ensemble, running a rehearsal, that sort of thing. It's not like it is the best way. It's just probably one of the most effective ways, or the status quo of how to run a ensemble at a higher level, artistically, right? Because you have better musicians, and you want to keep that rehearsal pace going. You want discipline, you want attention. You don't want to have the slightest bit of slacking off from anyone, right? There's all these things that are very important. But there's a lot of variance within that whole way of being. There's a lot of different ways that conductors conduct and just rehearse. And then you have your Leopold Stokowskis. You have your my brain. The New York Philharmonic guy, Toscanini. You have your Toscaninis. You have your Eugene Ormondys. It doesn't mean whatever happens in orchestra, or whatever any kind of thing, anyone's in charge, and they say something or they do something or whatever it is, and it's the way that things go. It's the way things should, the way things should be. Who says all that? Who says that that's the way things should be? Who says that that's the way things ought to go? It's all from people. It's not from God. When has God said anything about the way rehearsal should be run? You see what I'm saying is, it's very effective, but from a moral standpoint, it's never been thou shalt not. You know what I mean? It's different than those commandments. And so many times we get this confusion in our minds. It doesn't matter if you're a kid, you're still learning so many things. It's forgive the kids. If you're a teenager, especially, you're still confused about a lot of things. But for adults, especially, it's like we get these things confused. We get policies and laws even confused with commandments, moral commandments. I think we should stop being so confused by it. Okay, you guys leave your thoughts and comments below. I'll catch you guys later. Take care. Bye.